evening. Don Hughes is my name. I'm one of the leaders of the Sustain CNY Coalition, and I handed out, all the committee members should have one of these, and a bunch of you should have one of these, but I couldn't afford printing 300 of these. So that's what I'm going to be referring to. Note that it says I'm a volunteer. No one's paying me to be here. I wish they would, but Sierra Club is running low. I work with Sierra Club quite a bit. As far as my background, I have a doctorate in chemistry with a focus on environmental chemistry, with a super focus of organic chemicals, trace organic chemicals in the environment, such as PFAS. And bachelor's and master's degrees in environmental and chemical engineering, other order. And what I want to talk about today is the chemical aspects of Micron. So what we need to realize in making semiconductors requires lots of chemicals, 100 to 200 tons a day, 365 days a year. So just wrap your head around that. The bottom slide on page 1 gives you a list of some of the categories of chemicals that are being used. I'm going to focus just on PFAS, perfluorinated alkyl substances, and PFC, perfluorinated compounds. All right, so fluorine is the theme here. The next, if you flip the page, PFAS chemicals are key to chip making. So the semiconductor industry has made it very clear they must use these chemicals. They've tried to find some alternatives here and there, and they have phased out 2 of them, PFOA and PFOS. PFOA, PFOS. I know the acronyms are terrible, but they have not been able to find viable alternatives to PFAS. So we're in. We're going to have Micron here. We're going to have PFAS. They got to use it. Okay, so the question is how to contain it, because these things are quite toxic. So the next slide refers to as a slide of relative PFAS toxicity. What this is trying to convey is there's a huge range of toxicities of these compounds. On the left axis there, it's logarithmic. Every step up is a factor of 10 higher. And the coloring shows short chain versus long chain. Okay, so that's this thing that looks like that, the bars on, vertical bars. And the long chain ones tend to be quite a bit more toxic than the short chain, with some exceptions. But the point of this, if you look at the bottom, it relates toxicity to things that we're more familiar with, like DDT, trichloroethylene, hexavalent chromium. Those are all toxic compounds. Lead, it's not listed, but it's in there. Arsenic. The short chain PCBs have, for the most part, are equally toxic to those. The long chains are 10 to 100 times more toxic. What's all the hullabaloo about with PFAS? Well, if you turn to the next thing, it has a diagram, man, woman, and child. The man looks kind of like a gorilla to me, but that's... yeah, should have had a better artist. Anyway, lots of health effects. So there's cancers, there's testicular cancer, there's lung cancer, possibly breast cancer, there's other non-cancer issues, neurological effects. You can read down the list. So there's a lot of toxic effects, and what makes them unique is that PFAS is multi-organ. It goes to lots of different parts of your body and causes toxicity. It is transferred across the placenta to the unborn baby. We're at 4 minutes. Okay. Well, let's flip to the very end. Okay. The point of this is that, so they use a bunch of compounds, and then in the process they produce a giant variety of these things. And let's just look at this one graphic that shows targeted versus non-targeted PFAS analysis of fab wastewater. This is research done at Cornell. It's on page 5. And what they did was they looked at specific PFAS compounds in a regular targeted list, and then they also did some fancy numerical work to figure out other PFAS, which is not on the standard list. And it turns out the other PFAS, the so-called non-targeted PFAS, way exceeded targeted. And the regulators are only looking at targeted compounds. They're ignoring the non-targeted compounds. So the gist of this is the permit. You're going to hear more about the permit. The permit is completely inadequate. And you can read the handout. There's examples at the very end of what Minnesota has done, which is much better than what we got at New York State. Thank you very much.